From the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me from France, Yohann Abitann. Yohann, thank you very much for joining me on the show today. The way, as I was explaining to you before we start the recording, is I like to keep it to my guests to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about your background, your journey, and what you are currently up to, and then we're gonna take it from there. Just a teaser for the audience. We're gonna talk about something really nice. It's about how we are integrating, or Yohann actually is doing that, AI with productivity. So Yohann, the floor is yours.
First of all, Mehmet, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and with your audience. So a little bit of background about myself. I'm Yohann Abitann. I'm the founder of NewMail. I'm a Swiss-French entrepreneur. I've been working in artificial intelligence since 2017. I originally did my bachelor's in computer science and cybersecurity at NYU. And then I started working in cybersecurity. But I also had an experience during my bachelor's where I worked in the Stanford Research Institute, which is a big research center in California. Actually, one of the oldest in Silicon Valley. Has an exciting history. They were responsible for creating the computer mouse. They participated in, I think they were the fourth node on the initial internet, which was called ARPANET at the time. And so I was in this institution and I had the chance to work with Star Labs. They were a speech analysis lab that had created the innovation that turned into Siri. And we were a kind of second wave of startup working with them, licensing their technology. It was called Auto.ai. And we were doing real-time speech analysis back in 2017 for call centers to monitor sales conversations and generate real-time insights to the contact center people so they could have a better mapping and understanding of the conversation and know what to say, when to say it. And when we worked on that project, I just fell in love with AI. I saw this incredible technology that could take some rich, unstructured data, like voice in this case, speech, and break it down into its components, extract value, and then do this at scale. And the magic of Auto was the scalability, the ability to not only understand conversations in real time, but to do it for millions and millions of people. And at the end of the day, that company was acquired by Unity, the big gaming company, to monitor the voice channels of, I believe it's over 100 million video game players, keeping them safe with the technology is now called Safe Voice. And so this was what made me fall in love with AI. And after my stint in cybersecurity, I decided to work in AI again. I did my master's in AI products at Carnegie Mellon. And then I started working as a first product manager and then head of product of a company called Lodestar, which was no-code computer vision platform for the enterprise. The team was from NVIDIA, and so we were working with these big A100 servers, and we could actually create labeled data sets of very high-quality video data for the purpose of detecting objects, detecting defects in the context of manufacturing, and we also applied it to protection of biodiversity. And I can go more into that a little bit later. And after that experience, I decided to come back to Switzerland. I'm actually based in Switzerland now and start my own company, which is called NewMail. And NewMail is the AI executive assistant for entrepreneurs, for leaders. And what NewMail is and does is an agent that gets to know you, that's very easy to train in natural language. And then NewMail will actively manage your inbox for you and manage your calendar so that you can focus on what matters most to you. Entrepreneurs especially have big challenges around their inbox. That's where so many opportunities lie. And yet it's still like the 1960s. You have a stack of letters and it grows every day and everything looks the same and it's mostly bills. And it's not so fun as it used to be once upon a time when your friends would write you nice handwritten letters. And so to modern challenges, we need modern solutions. So we're bringing your AI executive assistant that works 24/7 for you, making sure that only the most valuable, important information is presented to you. And along with that, the insights that you need to make the right decisions, so that you can act swiftly and make the best of your inbox, make your inbox work for you, leverage the opportunities, and don't leave any value unexploited.
Wow, what a journey and what an experience, Yohann. Like really, very rich. And I don't know where to start to ask you actually, but let's start from NewMail, right? So how this fits, because one of the biggest challenges people talk about, especially when it comes to email, is achieving inbox zero, right? Maybe I'm different from the others, but there's no one I know, at least in my close circle, everyone has smartphone, right? So when they bring their, phones, the first thing I have a look at is, you guessed, the email, icon and how many ones are there. And I've never seen someone with less than 500, 600, 700, right? And I asked them, guys, like, when you gonna have time to go over that? They said, we don't know. So with what you are currently doing, Johan, and with the power of AI, as we were mentioning, how this gonna make people's life easier? And what are like maybe some other use cases? Is like you talked about the stack, and you're right. It's like the old style. I would have on my desk bunch of paper letters. So I want also you to tell us more about the use cases is there, and how your solution can let us have a better productivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned that when you look at someone's phone, they always have 500, 600 emails. I actually offer a bounty to whoever can prove to me that they have the high score of the most emails. I've seen up to 150,000 unread emails in an inbox. It's
Wow.
wild. Modern challenges. Email was built for a time when that was a channel for important communication. And like we are in the attention economy today, everybody uses that channel to try and get a piece of your attention. And we have this concept of spam filters, this idea that if a company sends you an email that's for 1 million people, then we should detect that and we should throw it away. Or if some scammer is trying to steal some information from you and they put some dangerous links, then that is a spam and you need to throw it away, right? I think that was the like 2000s 2010 way of thinking about this email problem. But beyond that, we're way beyond that today. Even if you can catch all this spam, there's still this issue of clutter. And especially for leaders, anybody who wants your approval in your organization or who just doesn't want you to feel that your ego is slighted because you didn't see the information, you end up being CC'd, copied on hundreds and hundreds of conversations that are not spam, that are not necessarily written by robots. And yet, like you said, when are we going to have time to get through this 600? The idea is if you think you have to get through every single email, you'll never have the time. But this is a problem that's existed for a long time, and high profile people have always had many, many people fighting for their attention. And the traditional solution was to have a person who is your executive assistant, who acts as a shield between you and this external world that really wants to encroach and get some of your focus, some of your insight. I really don't like the sentence people use sometimes. I just want to pick your brain. My my brain is a valuable thing, and
Don't pick it up.
you can, but you have to exchange some value in return, right? And so I think this same model of having a shield that makes this distinction of what is high priority for you, what is the right time to show you what information. I call it guardian of your attention. NewMail is the guardian of your attention. NewMail, in a few sentences of natural language, will actually ask you, what's your role? What do you care about? What do you see too much of in your inbox? And then there are many advanced features I can get into, but that's the basis. And with your answer to these few questions, NewMail will then priority rank your inbox so that you have time sensitive and important communications on top, things you need to act on and that are relevant to your role. Then you have important threads that are relevant to your role, could contain valuable information that you might need now or in the future, and those will be marked as important. And then beyond that, you have things that are interesting. Maybe it's a newsletter that you subscribe to, but it's not on the specific key topic that you care about. So it's not important. It's not clearly important, but it could be interesting. And it's clearly not time sensitive, right? And then beyond that, you have what we call clutter, which is all the things that you've identified. This type of thing, there's too much in my inbox. Maybe it's cold calls. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe it's too many newsletters from the past. Maybe you're a sysadmin and you have a crazy amount of notifications from a specific system that keeps getting triggered, and it's difficult to disambiguate, what you want from what you don't want to see. Well, you can just tell it in natural language to your AI assistant, and your AI assistant will make sure that all that clutter is not even in your inbox, is marked as red, and you can make sure that all these interesting things are sorted appropriately and summarized and will be delivered at a time that you have time for it. Same with everything that's important. Everything that's important is summarized, delivered on a daily basis. It's also highlighted. And then what's urgent and time sensitive is most highlighted. And then beyond that, we also create a to-do list that's integrated inside of the Google ecosystem, because we started with Gmail. Gmail has some good sophistication that we built on to have some nice advanced features. So using Google Tasks, we have an integrated side panel, and this side panel tracks all the communications where you still have actions that need to be handled linked to the specific email. So you don't have to do a search step. All you have to do is quickly scan through your list, see anything you want to work on, hit the link, and then in one click, jump into that conversation, and then you can manage it. So that's the basics of what NewMail does for you.
Fantastic. You triggered in my mind. I prepared different sets of questions, but I always love when it becomes like more casual conversation and spontaneous one. I remember because you gave one use case which is very interesting, right? So, and I was hearing on the radio a couple of days ago because you mentioned about the scams and the these kinds of things that happen over email. So yeah, I just remember. So it's here in Dubai, the guy who's responsible for finding companies in the Dubai Financial Center, the IFC, he was talking about like how, these guys, they became better with AI because they are drafting their emails in a very, very, good way. Because traditionally these people, they are not, English is not their first language, of course. So they are using AI to proofread and enhance and so on. And I just remembered also, if you remember, Yohann, a couple of years ago, there was this chatbot in New Zealand that it was designed to waste the time of the scammers. So, but it's good use case because like if I can remove this also from my inbox and I don't have to go with it, fine. Now, the second thing I wanted to ask you about. So this is a very good use case. The second thing regarding, the, so you mentioned newsletter and you mentioned marketing stuff. So sometimes, and I'm curious how the AI would be able to learn this. So sometimes I go and make an inquiry about something, or I subscribe to this newsletter. Many times, to your point, I find it like after some time it's not interesting for me, but I forget to unsubscribe. So, but sometimes I need to go back to it. So how AI would would help me here in understanding, really, what I mean is how it gonna judge really, you know, this is really interesting. Is it by how I open, how much I scroll, or is it like by the content itself? So I'm curious about, how, the model will be able to judge like if what I'm doing is really, sorry, what it's doing for me is really what important or not. If I am clear on the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two key pieces that you bring up. One piece is about learning. How does it learn from your behavior? What kind of signals is it paying attention to? And then you bring up, is it about the content or what is it about the data that gives the AI this understanding of whether or not it's relevant to you? And the answer to both of these kind of gets to the heart of how we built NewMail, which is I come from a cybersecurity background and I come from an AI background. And I always realized the AI is only as good as the data that you put in it. And that's basically a function of trust. Um, then beyond this, I think there's a lot of talk today about just cramming your AI full of so much data. And I'm actually against that. I think it's about putting in the data that's really valuable and sensitive, that's gonna enable your AI to have that competitive advantage to understand what you do and how what you do is different. But built into that notion, this is very sensitive professional data and how to manage it in a responsible way. So part of that, it directly goes against this idea of what I call data maxing, just saying, oh, just throw all the data in there and the AI will learn and will figure it out. That's never been a good way to work in AI. I guess OpenAI and the scaling laws has made people think, we need internet scale data set, but that's not true at all. If you want an effective decision-making AI, then what you need is the right data and the right labels. And in this case, we're talking about sensitive professional data. So that data needs to be handled in a very privacy conscious way. So we do look at content, and that's what makes it different than the traditional filters. We'll just look at the headers and patterns in the headers and also like open behavior. So we actually go to the next step, and your AI will read the actual content. So I can determine in a newsletter. So we do have like context about sender level, and we have context about content email level. So on the one hand, we'll see if over time your behavior with respect to that sender, if that sender sends you multiple low quality emails, then we're going to proactively suggest to you, we think that you're actually not interested in this. Should we unsubscribe you? And on the flip side, if somebody sends you multiple high importance things, then we'll suggest you add them as a priority contact. But apart from this one behavior, almost, I would say everything else in our platform was designed to be very transparent to the user. So the user can see it, manage it, and delete it anytime they like. And what I mean by that is, I told you we answer a few natural language questions. That is what we call the preferences. And that's the one thing that we store on user data on our systems. Preferences are answers to these 7 questions with some extra settings. And this is stored encrypted in our system. And then everything else, the signals that we take are once again explicit. So we have an AI, we're in the beta on this aspect of the system, which is through a conversation, you can tell the AI what matters or doesn't matter to you. So if it delivers to you your daily briefing and says this newsletter should be interesting, you say, actually, I'm not so interested in that one anymore. All you need to do is exactly what I said. Tell your AI assistant, that's not interesting to me anymore. And then we will understand and recategorize, because we could learn implicitly, but what we decided to do is you need to know where every single piece of your data is. So we don't want to have feelers and analytics that are not open. Everything that we do is open and transparent. So it's very easy to audit. That's how we were also able to voluntarily take on the highest level of security audit that Google offers for workspace applications. Mm-hmm. And we keep being very proactive on the aspects of compliance. We're European based, so GDPR is very important. And absolutely. GDPR, the foundation of it is every user needs to know where the data is. They should be able to manage it, delete it at any time. And so that's the key for us. So we learn in a very explicit way that is the same way an assistant would learn from you traditionally, is through a conversation. When there are signals that come out about decisions that have been made that seem like they could be enhanced, we call it guidance. And I think that's the right way to evolve and work with AI systems today. Not full automation, but I would say it's almost automation with guidance or with supervision. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best way to let the AI run, not need to prompt it every single time, but then be able to say, actually, this would be a little bit better. You can do it this way. And then that way, it's extremely clear what learning happens, when and why. And you can edit, understand, explain it. I used to be obsessed with AI explainability, and natural language models sometimes are very easy to explain and because they can talk to you. And
Right.
sometimes they're very mysterious, and we're trying to challenge that notion.
Very cool. Just out of curiosity, very quickly, so your solution can fit individuals as well as businesses. Am I right? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's right. So we say that we work with leaders and teams, and we recognize that founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, they're a good target audience because they have the strong pain. They have the most emails. On average, they receive 300 to 500 emails, and they send more than 100 emails per day. So there are a lot of roles that don't do as much of that. Also, their email, the value per email is quite high, and there aren't so many excellent software tools out there targeting this area. They also have many contexts. So it's more complicated to deal with an entrepreneur's inbox than to deal with a marketer or sales who has more defined role where the opportunities look more similar.
Right. And out of curiosity again, can I connect multiple inboxes?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the aspects we're working on is making the unified inbox experience more seamless. Currently, we're creating one assistant per inbox,
Mhm.
but very soon we hope to unify all of that. And I think that the next evolution that we do will really facilitate that because we're going towards this more agentic model, like I mentioned, of having an AI that you can just chat with conversationally. And so I think we'll disambiguate based on this aspect of one phone number manages multiple inbox accounts, and that will be how we identify you, and then all your inboxes shall be made easy to synchronize and unify through that assistant. Because as you mentioned, in the inbox is evolving, and how do we make the best of this inbox? 10 years ago, the solutions that were developed, it was all about get through your inbox super fast, get to inbox zero. We actually believe that with AI, we can get people out of their inbox completely and to just give them an assistant. And that assistant becomes the interface, and you can control your digital experience through that assistant.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to see because like I know a lot of people, and sometimes I'm into that spot also as well. And this is why I asked you, Johan, about multiple inboxes. So let's say I have my personal inbox. Maybe I'm also having the work inbox. I know some people they would have like maybe advisory roles with multiple companies also as well, and they need to connect to multiple places. So this is why I ask you. Now let's discuss the calendar because calendar, in my opinion, is one other underrated part of our productivity. Of course, there were tries to automate things like with all the solutions that you can do scheduling with it, but still I feel there's room for improvement, especially with the AI. So tell me, Johan, what are you building for that use case?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, there have been like a whole family over the last 10 years of scheduling tools. Send me your link, I'll book on your calendar, which makes it useful for many use cases, but it's still not the most seamless because there's still billions of people using email every day. Gmail is 1.8 billion daily active users, and I don't know how many people are using Cal or Calendly, but good salespeople know that you don't want to leave the effort on the other people to to go and find time when you're trying to close a deal, right? So what we do is we go to the next step, and when somebody wants to schedule a meeting with you, we identify that, and then I didn't mention, but you said that the scammers use AI to make their emails better. We do the same thing, right? We generate reply emails that are high context based on your role, responsibility, the context for the person, and in the conversation, and then we write a high quality draft for you. So in that draft, we're going to include availabilities in your calendar to meet that person. And then through what I mentioned of the agentic interface, we can ask you to validate, like we found these 3 slots or 3 of these good to share with that person. And you can say yes, or you can say, actually, just share these 2 or give me 3 different ones. And then we can take care of looking through your calendar for you, finding that availability, sending it by email. And then all they have to do, they don't have to search and look at 10 slots and look at their own 10 slots. They have 3, and then they say yes, yes, no.
Cool. That's super cool. So even we remove the friction of sending the link and then waiting them and then coming. And I gotta tell you something really funny. So I had to struggle a lot, in because maybe when you booked this, you've seen like how much time I put to customize the invitation. Because if I go with the default mode, it will gonna say uh Yohann and Mehmet meeting. That's it. So, and I don't have any context. And actually, the person who brought this to me is one of my guests, right? So he said, Mehmet, like, okay, I'm seeing this calendar. I have no clue. What is it for? I forget. I said, it's a podcast recording. I said, okay, why you don't have that? And then, I built myself, I had to do it myself. And then, I start to put also the link for StreamYard. But it was all manual work. But if you can automate this more, that's fantastic. Before I ask you about the agent part of it, just out of curiosity, and maybe I'm reading the minds of some of the audience, how this will fit in a world where the providers themselves, they are trying also to push their quote unquote co-pilots and their Gemini co-worker and so on. So is it like you're seeing like a threat, an opportunity? How do you look at it, Johan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that in the nature of startups, we're so different than the big giants that what we do, the nature, the DNA means that we find different opportunities. We're agile in different ways. So I've been to meetings to see the Gemini offering. I've worked with companies, done consulting for companies that were using Copilot, and I've seen what it's strong at, and I've seen where it is weak or slow. And these are not perfect solutions because big companies are not perfect. And if you've talked to startup CEOs before, like you have, there's this thing that we say that if you were not going to do a software because Google could do it better than you, then there would not be any software being developed, right? But the reality is different. The reality is these are wide ecosystems that these players have, Microsoft and Google. And what they're building is an AI that can serve as the connective tissue between their different platforms to help you move the data. But what they're not building is the best possible executive assistant. And that's what we're building. And I think always in startups, it always comes down to focus and it also comes down to customer obsession. And fundamentally, these days, when I work with CEOs, I work with teams, we see eye to eye and I can, they have my WhatsApp number and and we have this very close relationship. I don't know if you've had some support issues with Google product recently, but I spent 2 months trying to get a hold of someone. And after 4 failed AI conversations and 16 emails with support, I finally solved the basic issue. So I think there is room to grow and exist. I think everybody wants AI, and the big companies, they wanted their market cap to go up. So they all said, now we have AI in everything. And I don't, I am going to be opinionated and contrarian. I had a conversation with Gemini recently. I asked Gemini, what can you do for me? And Gemini said, I can write stories. I can come up with narratives. I can help you write things. And I said, come on, Gemini, this is not very innovative. And Gemini said, you're absolutely right. So they still have work to do. They have great people working on it. And, there's this rising tide element. I think so many tools, so many things are coming out. Anthropic just recently put out a couple of days ago the MCP, their model context protocol, made for AI assistants to connect more easily with external data sources. There's so many things being done in the space, and it's becoming easier and easier to make better and better AI assistants. So I'm very excited to be building in this space. And yes, there are mastodons and these giant players, but I'm obsessed with this problem and I'm not going to let it go. So we'll see what happens in the next few years. It's going to definitely be interesting. And I think, it's there's no better way to participate in the future than to try and build it. So that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, of course, I knew the answer, Johan, but I wanted you to share what you did absolutely fantastic way, explaining why when you are obsessed in the problem, you are authentically and what I like to call it the design thinking perspective, because you are building the empathy with people who gonna use this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like people at Google and Microsoft, they don't have empathy. I mean, as persons, but because they are giants and they are, building much bigger things, right? So few details it might be missed, and this is exactly where people like yourself, Yohann, building these kinds of startups, it get me excited because you are obsessed, and this is the key word that you use over there. You're obsessed with the problem. I love this. Now, just because you mentioned WhatsApp again, it wasn't on my list. There are a lot of things that happens, and let me, maybe some of the audience in the US, they know I'm in Europe and in the Middle East. Usually we are close in terms of how we communicate. So there's a lot of business conversations nowadays, Yohann, that happens on WhatsApp, right? And then I said to tell the guy, hey, send it over email. And then, in the email, hey, based on our conversation on WhatsApp, hey, give me a break. Give me a break. I'm not able to handle email. So now you're telling me go to the WhatsApp. So is there any vision to try also to bring, other communication tools to the picture? And not only WhatsApp. So I'm saying WhatsApp because it's very famous, at least I know in Europe. I mean, even in here in Middle East, WhatsApp me this, you know, Telegram is also on the rise, by the way. In the US, there, yeah, they still like kind of iMessage and these kinds of things. But I mean, still, there are a lot of things that happens outside of the email related to business. So what's your vision on that?
I think you're very perceptive, and these are really good questions. Actually, the data agentic vision that we have that we're currently building, it is to bring your assistant to WhatsApp, so you can have that personal one-on-one chat, synchronous conversation with your assistant, and to from your WhatsApp be able to pilot your inbox, your calendar, your contacts, and the rest of your digital life. Is for 3 billion people is the biggest chat platform in the world. And I think there is this opportunity with AI to drop into existing workflows and reuse the same tools. We really got saturated with apps. We all downloaded so many apps and then deleted so many apps. And now if I have to download an app to figure out why your product is awesome, you've probably already lost me. So we're working in going where entrepreneurs are today and where they're doing their work. And WhatsApp is huge. I do think that WhatsApp is an intimate channel. And I'm sure you've had this experience. I don't want to have too much business conversations, especially not initial conversations over WhatsApp. For me, that's a preferred channel. But we think we can earn trust with our users to earn our place in their WhatsApp as their executive assistant. And then from their WhatsApp, help them pilot the rest. When it comes to automating WhatsApp itself, it's still something that Meta is quite guarded about, and with good reason, right? There's little spam on WhatsApp so far. It exists, but I've not been a huge victim of it, and that's because they keep it close to the chest. It's not easy to do automation on WhatsApp. So currently, they don't allow bots or business accounts to be part of groups, for example. But definitely the next level agentic communication stack that we're building, that many others are building, I'm sure that WhatsApp will fall into this. I know that Slack owned by Salesforce now, they have many like AI features, and you can imagine AI features for chat as well. It's pretty straightforward. And WhatsApp itself has WhatsApp AI, which lets you talk to ChatGPT within the WhatsApp ecosystem. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if WhatsApp comes out with a premium B2C offering for their 3 billion users, where for a few dollars per month, you actually get to have some more powerful AI features in your WhatsApp. So that being said, we're gonna be there, and then we're gonna have all the elements and all the tools. And if it turns out that that's something that entrepreneurs are passionate about, then we'll try to solve that for them.
Absolutely. My number one, feature that I want now, I don't know who's gonna do it, is a summarizer for the WhatsApp group messages. Like we have, some friends groups, and we work during the day. We come, we sometimes I don't open the WhatsApp, the whole day because I have meetings or maybe I'm recording. now the episode. And I come back and I found like 60, 70 messages. I said, guys, what were you chatting about? Is there an AI to just tell me what happened? What did I miss? And really, it's becoming sometimes annoying because, of course, especially with everything becomes kind of FOMO. And, oh, what did I miss? Oh, should I have been informed about that? And it's overwhelming. Now, because, I want really to discuss this with you, one, which is related to the agentic approach you're talking about. The audience knows by now how passionate I become when I talk about agents in AI, because when I interacted with ChatGPT the first time, okay, of course, it was like a moment that I said, okay, this is something big. Because I remember when I was kid, always I was, imagining someday a robot which I can talk to or type to, and it knows everything and it can, inform me and educate me, and which is ChatGPT kind of do it. Now, the second thing which I started to think about, okay, if the model can generate text, regardless of the T model, we can discuss the technicalities. But I mean, it can get some text in natural language, and translate it to something, that we can really think. Actually, we don't think. It is really something readable by a human and it has meaning. Like even you were saying about Gemini telling you like I can write stories and so on. And yeah, you are right. It tries to imitate a human, which is okay. Now, taking it to the next level and taking actions is where agents comes into the picture. And the first time I started to see, I think it was early 2023, first attempts, people doing the baby AGI and
Maybe, yeah.
yeah. I said, hold on 1 second. Like, this is okay. So, if ChatGPT was the thing, no, forget about it. Like, this is the next big thing because now I'm having an army of bots or agents doing stuff for me, and all what I need to do is just to give them the plan and you go guys figure it out. So tell me a little bit more about this aspect, especially with the work you're doing currently on productivity and helping CEOs and founders and executives.
Yeah, so just as you mentioned, right, like having an AI that's capable of being triggered through conversation, in a way, it's the evolution of the interface, and it's very powerful. It's flexible, um, and it's currently in its current form. It's limited because the AI is only being triggered when you ask it a question, right? So I'm sure technical people like yourself and like many in your audience, we've used ChatGPT integrated to spreadsheets. When you're able to ask 100 questions at once with all different parameters, then you're starting to have hours of time saved and not just minutes or seconds, right? So I think on that aspect of how many questions can we afford to ask AI, that kind of sub-selects which problems we can use AI for. And so we've been thinking about proactive AI. AI should know what questions you ask yourself before you do it and should answer them for you and display the answers so you don't even need to ask yourself that question. Remove that weight off your mind. So we have questions like, is this email relevant for me? Is it time sensitive? Are there actions I need to take that need to be tracked? Do I need to write a reply to this? These are all questions that our AI answers every single time you receive an email. Beyond that, I mentioned to you, I don't think we're ready yet with the error rates to have general purpose solutions that can really go out in the world by themselves with no supervision and perform high quality work. So I think for me, 1 + 1 = 10, and we are in the phase of AI human assistantship or collaboration. I think co-pilots have kind of stolen this thunder of this idea and maybe like not really delivered on it so far. What we're building, as I mentioned, it has aspects of what you say in terms of planning what needs to be done and then going and doing it. But we still keep that feedback loop pretty tight. So for example, I'll give you a sense of one of the things we're working on with our agent. If you say, organize a meeting with John next week, Thursday afternoon, then we have to do a number of steps. So first, we recognize this intent of, is this what you're saying? You're saying, okay, find John. So who is John? We look through your contacts. We understand there are 8 Johns, but in your recent communications, this one is the top hit. Maybe we ask you, this John on this email, is that correct? And Thursday afternoon, you mean after you go to the dentist? So around 4 p.m. at earliest, right? So we have this tight feedback loop where you express your intent, then we will do the search steps, we will chew it up. And then what we want to do is present to you the decisions as yes, no decisions. So it's as easy as possible for you to make your AI do something, but you're self-supervising each key decision step. Because, as I mentioned, I don't think in terms of where we are today, maybe 6 months, 12 months from now, there will be innovations and we will be able to have more fully automated. And we're building with that in mind, that the AI will keep getting more competent. But today, it's, for me, a short leash and well-defined tools and intent. But when you bring that all together, then you have an AI. And it's especially interesting when you start to look at multiple applications, right? So I mentioned contacts, then we have checking the availability in the calendar, and then we have creating an event and then sending them an email and saying, hey, John, here's the link, here's blah, blah, blah. Let's meet at that time. And then summarizing perhaps the conversation or that email and placing it in the event, as you mentioned. So all these back and forths between different tools, if we can unify that onto one interface of your conversation with your agent, I think we're saving a lot of time, a lot of decision power, a lot of context switching without actually doing too many unforeseen hidden steps, so that we can still keep that very, very high quality and that signal to noise ratio from intent to result or output.
So it's work in progress, Yohann, right?
Yes, the agent that we're building, we're aiming to launch at the start of the year, but currently we're still building it. And I think that agents as a whole is a work in progress, in the sense that we're still in the phase of human AI collaboration and supervision. So when I work with companies and they tell me, oh, I'm trying to understand, how can I use AI? How can I benefit from this technology? What I tell them is, identify problems where supervising the task is much easier than doing it from scratch. And one example I give is, if you're going to interview 10 people, and you have 10 CVs, maybe taking those 10 CVs, giving them to AI and say, AI, rank the 3 best and then generate relevant questions based on their CV for me. And then you yourself can look at the questions and choose the ones you like best and then ask them in the context of the interview. That means that you removed a lot of repetitive tasks, and you didn't have to read the source data and then make your own determination and then write it from scratch. You're just selecting, okay, actually, your experience at Microsoft on distributed systems seems relevant to this project. How do you think it will help you? That is a personalized solution that you're delivering that lets you get deep with someone quickly. And it was much easier to have AI suggest it than to come up with it yourself.
Absolutely. Like I like, when the aim is also to give us time, right? And remove the friction of doing repetitive tasks. People thinks that, oh, repetitive tasks, like it's repetitive, it's like a routine. No, actually, you I know from myself, and I noticed other people, the people who does a lot of repetitive tasks tends to do more mistakes. And if you give people like things that change all the time, of course there will be some mistakes, but I mean they will do less mistakes because you know they have to think and they have to go over it, so they have to notice when you do something repetitive. And I know, again, I give example from myself. It's not like I stopped noticing. I said, okay, so, and then I figured out that I did a lot of mistakes because I didn't automate. And the audience know I'm big fan of anything automation. And of course, AI, I tell them the current AI is automation actually. So it's going to help us, automate things that, you know, we need to repeat it. You want to say
But I
something?
think, once again, it's that human AI collaboration, that 1 + 1 = 10, because all the tasks that we do, they have repetitive aspects and they have aspects where you can really bring value. And so what we do is we try to do the repetitive parts of the tasks so that you can add your personal touch at scale. And what that looks like in the world of emails is a little bit more empathy and a little bit more strategy, right? If
Right.
somebody asks you for 10 information points and your AI can put a draft together that says all these things, does the nice greeting, does the nice sign off, then all you need to do is jump in and say, and add one line and say, by the way, I hope that this other project you told me about is going great. Here's the information, you know? And that's what we say, personal touch at scale. We're not trying to replace you. We can't replace you. We're trying to give you more time to be you and let the machine do what's for machines.
Absolutely. Yohann, like as we are coming to an end, just I have, a question for you. And with all the passion that you have, and I am kind of really appreciating the way you truly understood and you know exactly what are the pains and the problems that your ultimate, I would say, customers would have. So, and I told you, before we start the recording, so part of the audience are people who are aspiring entrepreneurs. So, what advice you would give them if they are looking to turn a technology idea into a market ready product? Because really, you are onto something super, super, super hot, I would say. So, what you can share from your experience?
What I would say is it's very rare that you have an idea that turns into a product. I would say go if you want to be an entrepreneur, go and talk to lots of people around you and find something really painful that is in a space that you care about. And if you see a strong pain in a space that you really care about, start asking people questions and understand that pain better, because the pain that you feel is going to be different than the pain that they feel. But if you can find that core of people who really care about the issue, then you can have that as that burning flame to sustain you through this difficult but exhilarating adventurous journey. I think most startups fall apart when there isn't that strong connection to the pain. And some of the smartest minds I met in Silicon Valley told me, and this will always stick with me, become married to the pain, not to the solution. I think that's the best advice I can give to entrepreneurs starting. Find the pain, because if there's no pain, it's it's only going to be pain for yourself, and there won't be enough gratitude involved in the system to keep you going fast and far. And it's a marathon and not a sprint. And I
Of
would also
course.
say to aspiring entrepreneurs, my door is open. And you have my name now. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, provide any guidance that I can, with pleasure. And maybe the last one I would say, find a community, because being an entrepreneur is a lonely game. You can't always share everything with your team. Others, your friends, might not necessarily understand. Find communities of entrepreneurs, find people who are building things, talk to them, find out about their lives, and use that also when you decide that this is what you want. Because it's good to be the boss, but it's also a lot of hard work and responsibility.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I hear this a lot, and I was lucky also to work with a couple of in a consultant role with great minds at startups. And yeah, so I've seen them, as you said, I call it in another way, like falling in love with the problem, not with the solution. And we have same background. So I used to be a pre-sales guy or sales engineer, and I always telling people, don't open the slide on showing features and why you are better than this because you have a faster thing. Okay, these are important, but try first to understand the pain of your customer, and then from there your life will become much easier, actually, because guess what? You don't have to talk. The customer will start to tell you your pains. I mean their pains, and then your life is much easier. And then you validate at the same time. Okay, the hypothesis that I developed is right, and now it's the time to show them. Okay, I understand you have this problem. This is what we have developed. Let me see if this can something you can benefit out of it. So 100% you are on this. And thank you for mentioning, because I was gonna ask you where people can find more about you and also about NewMail. So just the link, I'm gonna put it in the show notes. But
Yes,
also
please.
I'm gonna put it.
NewMail.ai.
I'm gonna put NewMail AI also in the show notes. Yohann, really, I enjoyed this conversation. Like one of the, you know, always, I would say exciting times for me when I meet people like yourself, passionate about what they're doing, understanding, what's happening around, having the vision for the company. So I appreciate, the time you shared with me today and with the audience. And this is for the audience. This is usually how I end my episodes. So, guys, if you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. If you enjoyed what you have seen or you've listened to today, give us a thumb up, share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming, thank you for passing by. I really appreciate it. And keep your also recommendations and your comments coming. I read all of them and I take them into consideration. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.